welcome to the Sapphic Stitchery. My name is Beanie and this is my podcast for all things sewing, knitting, writing, gardening. That's my newest thing, and you have not seen me on your little screens, however big they might be, in a little while, because I am a star procrastinator. I come to you from the Sussex countryside and we are surrounded by rather a lot of four-legged little creatures. So if one of them decides to come in, please ignore the little sounds of tippy-tappies. And no, for the most part, people do seem to be quite pleased to hear them. I know I am whenever I see a furry creature in a video. But furry creatures is not what we are here for. What we are here for is primarily, I think, knitting. Correct? Correct? Yes. But before we get into all of that, it is time for the Stitch and Spill, where I just tell you about the things that have been going on in my life. And you might not care because you are new here, but some people might care. So, as I already alluded to, one of the reasons that I have been a little bit missing in action is because I have gotten well and truly obsessed with gardening over the last few months. And this is not a gardening podcast, and don't you worry, you do not need to turn off now because you're worried that I'm going to just go and speak about nothing but gardening for a few hours. I will not be doing that. I promise you. However, I've gotten very into gardening. I've gotten very into reading a lot of gardening books. I've gotten into doing a lot of gardening. Apparently I've gotten into having a lot of dirt under my nails, which I've been scrubbing at vigorously with a nail brush all morning because I was aware that I was planning on recording today, and I thought somebody might zoom in on these little paws. I promise you, it's just because I literally gardened this morning. I am not that dirty. I've gotten really into gardening. I've really gotten into my roses. I've really gotten into food planting. I am growing aubergines for the very first time. Oh boy, is that exciting when you start seeing actual aubergines come out as opposed to just these giant leafy cabbage-like looking things. It's a thing of beauty, I'm hoping that I'll have some tape to roll right now of what the garden's looking like because, as you know, we live in a tiny cottage. Our garden is small, but I've managed to cram quite a lot of things in there. The other day we gave a person a ride home who was stranded in our village. They waited in our garden while we were in the car ready to take their dog in as well. And they looked around and they said that our garden's really magical, which I thought was really wonderful and really sweet. Especially because part of the garden had quite a lot of, let's just say, potential projects lying in the corner of it. My wife has a rather little thing for picking up objects that do not have a home by the side of the road everywhere, and she does love going into a skip occasionally and bringing out what she likes to call presents and treasure. I like to call it's only presents and treasure if you actually do something with it. We're working on it. Mostly we're working on the fact that we are trying desperately to not end up on an episode of Hoarders. No, of course, it's not quite that bad yet. However, I think the potential would be there, and I'm actually not being entirely facetious. One must be careful. One must be vigilant around here. Before I go on, I'm just going to have a quick chat about what I'm wearing. It is, of course, summer now, as you can tell by the fact that I have a flower in my hair. Of course, otherwise you wouldn't know, besides the fact that you're obviously all sweating buckets. Which means there's not an awful lot of wool wearing happening. The main thing that I am wearing in the summer is the Dalloway blouse, which is by Squidney Knits. This, however, is the Jan sweater by Susan Crawford. I'm not a hugely big fan of how this came out. I knitted this ages and ages ago, and I do often think about selling it just because I think it's not quite the fit that I would want on me. I don't know. Whenever I go to sell it, there must be a reason for why it's still sticking around, right? There must be a reason why I don't want to let it go. But I just think it doesn't look that nice on me. And I know some people are going to say in the comments now, like, oh no, it looks lovely. I so appreciate that. It's just a personal feeling. it's just, it didn't come out the way I wanted it to. Maybe I'll harvest the yarn because the colour is a thing of beauty. It's such a beautiful cornflower blue. I believe this is Excelana Nord, and it's stunning. It's so interesting to see because I knitted this. I think this might have even only been like the second or third sweater I ever knitted. And actually, just looking at my rib, I can see that I've gotten better. Like, I can see how my knitting is not as even, the tension isn't as even as mine would be now. Obviously I can't tell when I wear it, and actually I didn't notice until I looked at it just now, so for the most part, even when you're making little mistakes or things aren't quite as even, nobody's going to notice. Nobody will ever know. And the main reason we're all doing this, right, is because we want to wear handmade garments, and handmade garments show that a person has handled them. And that's important. Though, notably, all garments are handmade because we have not figured out a way to entirely machine make clothing. Yes, even your Shein top is made by hands. I'm probably preaching to the converted here. You all know that, right? The other big thing to talk about is that my wife has started volunteering with wonderful Lotus Lamb and Sheep Sanctuary. And they are home to pigs, chickens, lamb and sheep, obviously. Trying to think if there's anyone I've missed. Probably have. Oh, horses, donkeys, home to wonderful, wonderful animals. And she volunteers with them 1 day a week. She's also currently or about to start doing the Tour de Fleece and is collecting money for Lotus Lamb and Sheep Sanctuary. So I'll pop the link to that in the bottom little doobly-doo. I do believe at this point she has reached her goal of £150, but oh boy do I know, you would make her life if you added to that. She would be so excited. So if you are feeling in a charitable mood, pop down in the doobly-doo and give the sheep some money, because a lot of these sheep have really, really sad things that have happened to them. There's a reason that they're with the sanctuary. Some of them have been rescued from being turned into meat. They're just the sweetest little beings. It has very much shown me that I would one day like to have a few sheep in my life. But at the moment, previously mentioned cottage garden, it's not really possible for us to do that. So thankfully, volunteering at the sanctuary fills that little urge a little. But the reason I'm mentioning this is not just because they're collecting money, it is also because it was shearing day a little while ago. My wife Bear has actually been able to take the fleeces of some of her favourite sheep, which for the most part have been Shetland sheep, to be given away to be, washed, carded, etc., so that she can spin them up, so that she can actually spin with the sheep whom she's kind of developed this personal close relationship with. One of the sheep she has developed the closest relationship with is called Gary, and Gary is very much not a spinnable type of sheep. She has tried. She's managed to make a little baby Gary. One second, I will go get baby Gary. This is Gary. And Gary is made, as you can see, out of Gary. She actually spun up this little bit of him and turned it into a little Gary with little horns and everything. His horns are incredibly sharp, and she does keep coming home with, you can just sit here sitting with us. She does keep coming home with Gary injuries because he kind of rubs his horns on her, I think just genuinely to cuddle her. I think it's an affection thing, kind of how cats do it, but he doesn't really realise that his horns are incredibly sharp. So when she sees him running towards her with complete joy, she has to be a little bit careful because she had a big slash on her tummy from Gary. Anyway, so in the future you will probably be seeing a lot of yarn coming our way. We might actually be selling some of it for the sanctuary, because I think the amount of yarn we're going to get out of this is more than we could ever spin up. Not spin up, is more than we could ever knit up. It's enough to spin up, though I personally do not spin, so it's easy enough for me to say. Definitely too much to knit up when there are also other beautiful yarns that you obviously want to be knitting with because you are a knitter and you love to knit. Alright, which means we have reached the project in the spotlight part of the episode where I actually talk about the projects that I'm currently working on. And knitting on, my big knitting project is the Cloud Busting Jumper by Susan Crawford, and I am making it in the colours of the sweater Keira Knightley wears in the Imitation game. I will try and pop a little photo somewhere along here to give you an idea of what it is. So if you see the colours, you'll probably know which sweater I mean. So this is the sweater, and I did look into making the actual one that she's wearing, but it is technically a 1950s sweater. Oh, and I've just dropped a stitch. It is technically a 1950s sweater or cardigan that she's wearing, and I preferred an actually 40s garment because I'm a nerd. So it is in Exelana North by Susan Crawford, and this is how it's coming along. It is actually the second time that I'm knitting this little segment because, as per usual for me, my gauge got looser as I knit along, and then when I came to the point where I was going to cast off stitches for the bust, I actually popped it on 2 needles so I could try it on, and it was humongous for me. So what I've done is I've kept the same needle size. I've not changed my needle size, but I've gone down a size in the knitting, in the pattern knitting, which should come out at the same time as the next size up in smaller needles. Does that make sense? I have done the math. It should hopefully work this time around. So it is kind of my second rodeo. Can you tell that I've been reading an embarrassing amount of, an embarrassing amount of is one cowboy romance, and now I'm saying things like, it's not my first rodeo. I would have said that before. That's not a good excuse. Here we are. Isn't it beautiful? So that orangey mandarin-y colour, the colour that was delivered to me just wasn't quite exactly the colour I wanted, this one. So I did actually knock the colour back with some tea, loads of tea for about 3 hours, and it knocked the colour back to exactly what I wanted. Let me see if I've got the previous swatch. So here's my swatch. Can you see how much brighter that is in comparison to, let's see if we can get them both. You're going to be like, it's minimal. It's not minimal in person, I promise. You see it? You see that little orange? And how it's more browny orange? I'm telling you, there was a difference. No, hold on. Stressed. Suddenly very stressed. It's fine, we're fine, everything's good. Okay, we're back on the needles. Okay, as you were, nobody panic. I didn't panic, I was cool as a cucumber, right? You saw that, everything was fine. It wasn't fine. Oh, I did. This is also, I can't read you this bag because I've been told that there are small children in the room, so I can now actually not read you what it says on this bag, and if you were able to read what is on that bag, I'm very sorry. If you want to know what it says, message me on Instagram, I'll tell you. I'll take a photo for you. It's one of my favourite knitting bags at the moment. It's causing quite a stir whenever I go into the village. It's quite funny. So that is the main project that I'm knitting on, and I'm really enjoying it. I love colour work. Colour work is my jam. It's so satisfying. I actually find it quite mindless, and there's just something about seeing that pattern come together. And I think also because the first knitting book that I ever bought myself was Susan Crawford's Shetland project, and I bought it in order to just look at it for inspiration because I was a costumier at the time and I didn't actually think I'd ever be anywhere in the realm of being able to knit that kind of thing, and now here we are. Though, importantly, I now know that I truly believe anybody can knit that kind of thing. It's not rocket science. Don't let people tell you it's rocket science. Just knit. You all already knit, that's why you're here. Next project. So, the next thing we have is a very, very special thing. It is my first baby garment that I'm making. And no, don't worry, not a pregnancy announcement. I don't think there'll ever be a pregnancy announcement on this channel. But my oldest friend is having a baby, and we have known each other since grade school, and we're not currently much in each other's lives, mostly because we live in different countries. She still lives in the United States, and I obviously living in England by way of Germany. So when I heard via the grapevine of Instagram that she is having a little bubba, I really wanted to get her a little thing made by hand. So this is the Stork Set by Squidney School of Vintage Knitting. I don't know yet if I'll be making the little hat, because I don't know if I've got enough of this. If I do, then the bonnet will also happen, but now this is what we've got. I'm making it in a Fable yarn. It's superwash, which I thought was important for a baby because I didn't want them to have to worry about how to wash it. I want this item to be used. It is a finer gauge than Sydney originally wrote the pattern for. So I have chosen to make the largest pattern available, but in a smaller gauge, which I think is probably going to make what I'm going to call a medium-sized baby. As someone who is not often around babies, I'm going to say that this is what a half-a-year-old baby would wear. Parents in the room, tell me whether I am right or wrong. When I was first starting to make this, I did seriously start to panic because I was like, nothing's going to ever fit this. Now I'm starting to see how a being will fit inside this. Look how small. Oh my god. I asked my friend what color she feels her baby might be spiritually, as she is, you know, attached to the baby, and she said, you know, I think she might be a lilac. And this is the color that we found that she thinks the baby's soul might be. So it's really pretty. It's like a very pretty lilac-y shade. So I am working steadily on that. Super enjoyable knit, so fun. It's the same pattern as the Scarecrow vest by Squidney's School of Vintage Knitting, which I have made, but I made in a size pre-breast reduction. And so I've recently ripped it back, and hopefully I will remake it in the size that is actually me now, because it just never felt quite right. You know how it is. Spoilers. The other thing that I'm still working on, which is, you know, my little bus project, is a striped home front jumper by Squidney School of Vintage Knitting. Always sensing a theme, as usual. I have finished the front of it. Let's see if I can... That's attractive. Yeah, should fit, but, you know, looking a little bit doubtful there, but it should fit. Yeah, this is the front, and it's kind of the stripes are like kind of raised by doing a garter stitch. So garter stitch stripes, it's nice. So I'm that far with that, and then I have about, well, apparently nothing. I had. Oh Lord, okay, that's concerning. That's rather concerning. Where the heck have I put... Okay. I had... Oh no, it's up there. Oh my god. I can see it. It's fine. I thought a dog maybe got it. I had a momentary panic because I'm a very calm person. I have just the rib done on the back, which I promise it will fit. I know it looks absolutely teeny tiny, but it will fit. It's just, you know, rib. It's stretchy. People keep asking me what children's wear I'm making, and I'm like, the children's wear to fit me, the large child. So also still working on that. As it's bus knitting, it's just kind of few and far between, because sometimes I just want to listen to Taylor Swift and stare out the window and daydream and / write, because, you know, writing is like 50% thinking, you know that. So those are the things I'm currently working on in the knitting realm. There is one sewing project. Knitters, don't go away. We're still going to talk knitting after, but there is one sewing project. It's for my wife, and it is the Cocoon Pants by Wardrobe by Me. I am not enjoying making this pattern. I think the pattern's really fun, but I don't think it is a very well explained pattern, specifically if you're a pretty advanced sewer, because the way the instructions are written are incredibly confusing if you know how to sew, and thus I would not necessarily recommend. But what we have so far is a fly, which is very, very fun. Also, what's fun is that the zipper I have in here came from my mother's humongous zipper stash, which one time I think she bought somebody's zipper stash in the States at like Goodwill or something, and I swear to God I have about 40 vintage metal zippers, and it's not always a good color match, but when it is, I genuinely wonder whether I'll ever manage to finish all of these zips. Anyway, the trousers, I think they're going to come out really, really nicely, but it's annoying along the way, and I think the only reason I'm able to fix around the bad instructions is because I am an advanced level sewer. So basically you would either have to be more beginner than me and thus not get confused by the directions and do it wrong, or you'd have to ignore the instructions, in my humble opinion. And it's such a shame because especially the way that this fly was described, like the instructions for doing the fly, really clever, really, really clever. And I wish they hadn't messed it up so much. That sounds mean. I feel mean saying that. No, I don't like the pattern. I can say that. I'm allowed to say that. We are not here to be a little world of yes people. That's not what we're here for. Mind my words, children. Oh, speaking of mind my words, children, if there are any children listening who have been shearing their brothers and sisters, stop that. Brothers and sisters are not for shearing. Sheep are for shearing. See previously mentioned sheep. Okay? Stop it. Stop it. I'm kidding. I do genuinely think you guys have the most magical childhood. And so much love to you. We have one finished object and one finished object only. And that is the 4 Seasons skirt I was previously working on in a previous episode. It is done! If the weather is holding up nicely, as in not too hot, I will hopefully give you guys a little video of me actually wearing the full shebang in all of its glory. These are technically tulips, but they look quite hearty, especially in this red, madder red. It's so fun to wear. It makes me feel like a little Hollywood starlet. It's really fun. Like, especially the 2 pieces together. It's just lovely. Also, I've obviously shot myself in the foot a little bit because I made both of these pieces in the Jamieson & Smith Heritage yarn, which is fine. It's a beautiful yarn. However, it is a slightly finer yarn than the regular jumper weight. So it behaves more draperly, more beautifully, in my opinion, and it's absolutely stunning. So the fact that I now have desire to have 4 Seasons suits in all of the seasons is a little bit of a problem, but you know, it might happen. Call a police hold on that one. That might happen. Looking around myself, like, is there anything else that I have to talk about? Oh yes, one more really fun thing is a little acquisition, which is the Good Needlework and Knitting magazine, which I just found on good old eBay. Does anybody still use eBay? So sometimes when the world is feeling a little bit overwhelming, as it very muchly is at the moment, it's fun to look at little serial stories like the one by Anne Heplis on Cold Shelter, the story of a marriage of convenience. Look at those pictures. Look at those pictures. Magazines feature very, very heavily in the novel that I'm writing, so I have a little bit of a soft spot for them. Not these kinds of magazines, but different types of magazines. This is beautiful too. Ooh, and there goes the inserts. Look at that. And there we've got an Ovaltine advert. Ovaltine, all night, makes sound sleep sure. and restores energy and vitality while you sleep. My friends, sleep itself will do that. What has just fallen out? What has just fallen out? Oh yeah, it actually does still have one of the little embroidery templates in there, which I think is why it costs slightly more. Oh, also we have the fashion special supplement for December of Best Way patterns. All these 3 in our bargain pattern. Oh, they're so cute. Stop it. Stop it. I swear, the amount of times I consider abandoning the 1940s fashion to completely make everything go more 40s-y, more 30s-y. Frequently. Oh, stop it. Urgh. I think, you know how some people get cute aggression, which I do get. I think I get beauty aggression. When I see something really beautiful, I want to tear it up. These are the very newest. Not anymore, my friends. Not anymore. Oh. I know, I'm turning back to a previous page. But if there's anything I could make off of this, it's this one. Let me know which one you would choose. Nearly went sliding away there. Go on, which one? Which one would you make? Stunning. Stunning! I think I need to buy more of these because they give me so much joy. And they're not very expensive usually. So I think that might be a little fun treat for myself every month, because I am trying to get a little bit more on top of my finances. Like many people with ADHD, I'm not very good with finances. So I'm working on it. Robin Starch lends wings to your iron. It's so easy with Robin Starch. They just don't make it like this anymore. Free, a thrilling book of rugs and rug making. I can't say I've ever found rug making particularly thrilling, but then again, you are here for a knitting podcast, and I'm sure many people would not find knitting particularly thrilling. Oh, excuse me, I'd like to go to bed in this tonight. I mean, that is actually incredibly doable. What am I saying? Oh, they met on board ship. A man who had been jilted, and a girl who reminded him of the woman who had broken his heart. Joy. Pure joy. Sorry. I will lay that aside. If you are interested in like longer flip throughs and things, that is definitely something that we could do sometime. I think my next video that I post might be a tour of the sewing room. I considered including that in this year video, but with a little eye on the length of this video, it might be more prudent to pop that into 2 separate videos. We'll see how the actual tour goes, because I'll be honest, the light in that particular room is not particularly filming appropriate, so it might not be that nice. Let's do a quick chat about fibre and fiction, where I talk about what I've been reading. I have just started Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V. Schwab, and the writing is beautiful. It was so beautiful, in fact, that I had to briefly set it aside and read a really silly cowboy romance, which is not very good, because I could feel the little green-eyed angry monster get jealous, which allowed me to not enjoy the writing as much as I wanted to, so I had to set it aside briefly. So I'm only at the very, very start, but the way she manages to seamlessly weave in backstory, and she does the whole stupid show not tell thing so wonderfully, and as someone who's like paying more and more attention to the scaffolding of books, it's wonderful to see. It's just so exciting. Before that, I had finished Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead, which was nominated for the Booker a couple of years ago, which is kind of about like an Amelia Earhart-esque type character. So she's a 1920s, 1930s aviatrix. She also does some stuff in World War II as well, and then she goes missing, and the book is about kind of the woman who's playing her in a movie and actually telling the story of what actually happened, and it's beautifully done. And by the end you're just kind of going, ah, yeah. And yeah, really great recommendation, very readable, you just fly through it. It's great. It's a pretty chunky book, but it's a good one. I did finally finish The Well of Loneliness, which I know I was telling you guys about before. It had really good parts and it had really dull parts. And I think if it had been published nowadays, it would have been cut to about 50% its length. But really interesting from a queer historical point of view. From an actual storytelling point of view, it was really frustrating sometimes. But those are the things that have been on my radar. What are you currently reading? What are you currently working on? Do you also have a silly level of love for good needlework and knitting magazines? Time to wrap up. By the next time we see each other, I will absolutely 100%, oh my god, knock on wood, have finished that baby girl because it needs to wing its way across the pond and into mama's arms. Hopefully I will have at least finished the bodice section of the cloud busting jumper. I will definitely have finished these stupid trousers. What else? Do I think I will have accomplished anything else? We will see. Maybe cast on some sleeves for the jumper. I have put it in my calendar to record the next episode of the podcast in a month's time, and I so hope that I will be sticking to that. I don't know what it is, what in the self-sabotage it is that has me just suddenly not be able to record sometimes, but I know myself, I know this happens with me. So thank you so much for being patient with me and for still coming to watch. If you have watched, I appreciate that. And I'm sending so much love to wherever you are in the world, and hope that we can all feel some peace. Even if there's not peace on earth, I hope we can find some personal peace for ourselves. Happy knitting, everybody.